All right, hello. We are comparing and ordering decimal tenths and hundredths, and we're doing that by comparing fractions and decimals, how to read decimals, and comparing using this beautiful hundred square. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm looking at the hundred square, and I'm thinking to myself, how many tenths are shaded? So if I'm thinking tenths, this is obviously divided into hundredths, and if I'm going to look at this in tenths, okay, these blue lines here, the vertical lines, the ones that go up and down that I'm drawing right now, are going to be the ones that I look at. So if I'm ignoring the vertical lines, this would be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. Okay, because if you're looking at only the vertical lines, this would be all the way up to 10. So I have 3/10. Now, ignoring the blue lines and looking at all the squares, and I'm thinking about now hundredths, this would be 10 hundredths, 20 hundredths, and 30 hundredths. Okay, so this would be written as 30 hundredths. How would I write these as decimals? So if I'm looking at 30 tenths, again, I don't have any fully colored hundredths chart. So there's no full chart. So there's no whole numbers. So then there would be the decimal, and then the 3 would go in the tenths place. If I am looking at 30 hundredths, okay, I have a 0 in the whole number position, in the ones position. I would still have a 3 in the tenths, but I would also need to put in the 0 there, because that shows me it's out of hundredths. And why we would need this is, what if I was measuring something and I actually had 31 hundredths, or it needed to be exactly 30 hundredths because it's so small. It needed to be precisely measured in there. It's very important that I have those smaller numbers put in there so that we get the more exact measurement. Okay, so if I'm looking at 30 tenths and 30 hundredths, and then up here 30 tenths and 30 hundredths, these are equivalent decimals. Okay, equivalent decimals. Just like we had equivalent fractions, these are equivalent fractions. We have equivalent decimals, and these are equivalent decimals because they represent the same amount. Okay, just like these fractions represent the same amount on the hundredths chart as well. If I'm looking down, and we are going to be talking about how we properly read these decimals. So it is okay to say 0.70, but it's not okay to actually read this as 0.70. Okay, each digit after the decimal point should be read separately. Okay, a lot of times people will read them together, and then all of a sudden they get confused because this number is actually greater than this number here. And if I said 0.70 and 0.8, even though I could put like infinite amount of zeros back here, this number this number is actually bigger. Okay, and we could actually prove it using the hundredths chart, and I can draw that in. Okay, so this here up until there would be 0.70 or 70 hundredths. And this one here would actually have one more row colored in. Okay, so that shows that this is larger. So it's very important, like how you say it can be confusing to you. So make sure that when you're reading decimals, we'll do a few more, okay, that you're reading them properly. So if I have these two numbers here, or let's write a couple of them actually. Okay, this first one here, I would read as 9/10. or 0.9. This one here I'd read as 900ths, or I could say 0.09. Okay, and then the last one here I would say 0.90 or 90 hundredths. Okay, same as if I have these numbers here. It's really important that you say them properly because it helps you understand where they are on the number line and how they compare to each other. So this number here is 0.13 or 13 hundredths, 0.31 or 0.03. Okay, so I do have some exercises for you, so just give them a try.